One of the biggest joys that I have had in my past just a little over a year of having the pleasure of joining Wyman has been reconnecting with so many of our alum. So many of our alum now are in, especially from our long-term leadership development program that launched in 2002, so it's about 22 years old now, are all, in these amazing spaces in their careers, in their leadership in the field, and so many have been connecting back with us, and it's just been an amazing pleasure to reconnect with them, to hear their passion, their purpose, what they're doing in the world, and to hear their passion for Wyman and what they want to continue doing with us in partnership. So I just want to tee up today's conversation a little bit and welcome everyone who's joined us. So we have folks who've championed Wyman in so many different ways. As we said, we have some additional alum who are on here. Some of you have supported us in a multitude of ways. We have board members who are on with us as well, Wyman team members. So we're so glad to have this conversation this morning. This conversation really started in the late 1990s, believe it or not. And Dave Morley, I'm looking at you and Don Etling right now, right? So at that point, the Wyman and its board made a really important strategic decision to focus on teens. And the idea of focusing on teens, not just focusing on teens, but really focusing also on the importance of impact. So what did the research tell us was really important as you work through to support young people in achieving their goals? And that idea of focusing on teens, because we know that there are so many opportunities with that stage of life, right? With that stage of development, much like early childhood, right? There's a huge burst in brain development. There's so many critical pieces that happen during that time. And the supports and opportunities that young people have and the choices that they make during that time period can have a big impact on them and can follow them in many ways, for the remainder of their life. And so Wyman's choice to focus on teens and to really focus on impact was really seminal. So fast forward to today, about 25 years, 25, 26 years later, we maintain that commitment to teens. We have updated, refreshed our mission statement in partnership with the young people and alumni we serve, really talking about connecting teens to their voices, to their strengths, and to their futures through proven programs and supports. We now have evolved 3 proven programs specific to those teen years. The alumni that we are going to talk to today, everyone has gone through one of those specific programs that's now called Wyman Leaders. You might hear them talk about the Teen Leadership Program, which it was called back in their day. We've also evolved our Teen Outreach Program and our Teen Connection Project, all of which have some really strong level of research behind them showing that they provide impact for young people, right? But what better way? We can give you all the reports, we can give you all the data, and we have those. Kate will pop a few of those in the chat as we go through. But what better way to really understand Wyman and what we do and what we strive to do in the community with our mission than to be in conversation with our alumni and those that we've been so proud and fortunate to have served. One thing I keep saying to our alumni is, we provide the supports and opportunities, like we kind of set the table, but you're the ones who have to take advantage of it. You're the ones who are willing to step in with us. You're the ones who are willing to give this a try. And in the end, it's how you take that and how you move that forward that really makes the difference. And so we're excited today to invite Jalen and Chris and Kaya and really lift up their stories as we move forward. So enough from me. I want to turn it over to these amazing alum and give them each a chance to introduce themselves. How'd you first get connected to Wyman, and give us a snippet of what you're doing today? And Kaya, can I throw it to you to start us off?
Yes, good morning, everybody. I'm so happy to see your faces and hear your voices. My name is Kaya Donald. I'm an alumni of Wyman. I graduated in class of 2018. I was also a part of the Teen Outreach Program when I was in middle school. I recently just turned 25 and I'm currently working kind of in the tech space for Schneider Electric. And I've also had a lot of background in leadership programs and got to be a facilitator outside of Wyman as well. So that's just a little about me right now. And yeah, I'll pass it over to Chris. Chris, I think your audio is breaking up a bit.
Is it breaking? No.
Turn your camera off. It might help the audio.
That's our technology specialist. Thank you, Kaya.
Is that helping?
No, I think it's
All right. Let's pass it over so I can get
all right. I'll pass it to Jalen Mathis. You want to jump in?
Yeah, sure. So what's going on, everybody? My name is Jalen Mathis. I was introduced to Wyman back in middle school. When Wyman literally came to my middle school, one of my counselors, like my I guess career or college success counselor, she kind of helped me, or the counselor in general, not college success, I'm thinking about high school. She helped me pretty much in navigating, just like putting me in that group of students where Wyman came and spoke to us. So ever since then, like I have honestly been like hooked on Wyman. My heart has really been fully engulfed in everything that Wyman does, and everything that Wyman is, because it made me who I am today. Um, I have been through Wyman as far as a program participant. I also then came back and became a camp counselor. So my name was Coop Dog after Snoop Dogg, just because I was a very cool, calm, and collected type of counselor who just always kept it real with all of the young leaders. And then that inspired me to actually be a founding member of the Youth Leadership Council, which it was an amazing, 2 years trying to pretty much build out that program, create that kind of like exterior or branch for Wyman, and giving young people a space to really like sit at the table and actually make influential decisions when it comes to Wyman, when it comes to Wyman's relationship, with the board, when it comes to the board's relationship with young people, and being that kind of like gap between those bridges and those, like two separate lives that we were living, just because, we were dealing with adults and we were working on bridging that gap between youth and adult partnership. And so that actually then kind of led to me actually joining the board out. So I'll be joining the board officially in January. So super duper excited for that. Obviously, it's super inspirational for me as a young person, being who I am, coming from the environment and the community that I come from. And it's a huge win for my village. Right now, I currently work at Boeing. I'm in finance. I'm based out of Dallas, Texas. So I'm out here with Jalen Bledsoe as well. And then I'm like one of your side hustle fanatics. So I have quite a few side hustles. One of my main ones being that I own a fragrance company based out here in Dallas, Texas. So we actually sold out of our first fragrance within 5 months, which is crazy. And now we've kind of shifted into candles. We're going to have, 2 new fragrances being produced soon. But yeah, that's a little bit about me. And I love yoga and like mindfulness and meditation. So if you ever want to call me and have a substance-filled conversation about just the deep intellectual enlightening realities and realizations that come with life, and as we experience and go through this journey of life, I'm all open ears. But yeah, that is a little bit about me. So I'll pass it over to my name twin, Jalen Bledsoe.
Thank you so much, Jalen. Good morning, everyone. I am Jalen Bledsoe. My introduction to Wyman was, like me on this call, through team leadership program, coming out of middle school, going into high school. I was in an interesting space in that journey. I was going into high school, but also scaling my tech company at the time. And so I had this really sweet deal with the team that I could bring my BlackBerry to camp with me. And so I would go up to camp and I'd have my BlackBerry. And then at some point I decided to lease out my BlackBerry to my peers to call their parents because they didn't have their phones. Might have gotten in trouble at that point, but did Camp Wyman for just about, I guess, 2 years. At that point, my business was taking off and scaling fairly fast. And so I had to step away, focus on business. And luckily in my place, my dad saw the impact of Wyman on me and my friends, and he became a college counselor for Wyman TLP at the time. and went on the college tour for probably 4 years. His name was Headlock. Today, I have a number of roles in life. I'm the chairman of my family office of Bledsoe Collective, the managing director of a company called Flair Partners, a consulting firm that we do work with the likes of AT&T, Disney, NBC in 3 areas, marketing communications, management operations, and digital transformation. So we've done about $10 billion in P&L management in the last, probably 10 or so years of that organization. And then just took a role this year with one of our clients as the Chief Executive Business Officer of the TD Jakes Group in the Potter's House of Dallas here in Dallas, Texas, both looking at the family office of the Jakes family, but also the ministries of the organization. And so grateful to be in this seat and now in the seat for the last 10 months as the chair of the board of trustees for Wyman Center and looking at what the organization looks like for the next 126 years of impact and legacy. So again, thank you all for having me this morning and good to see everyone's face and hear those voices. And I believe Chris is back on, so we may get some more Chris.
You guys hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Well, everybody, I'm Chris. I first heard about Wyman in middle school, a year going, and our counselor came to our room and she was like, yeah, so this program that you guys can be a part of, they help you out with process, and it just go from home for 2 weeks and out, and that just grabbed me from the first because I was so cool that we could just leave home. So fast forward, got into the program and went through the college experience, went through the residential experience in Eureka. Barrington and Jalen were actually my cabin mates. And Kaya was in my class too. So I graduated the 2018 Wyman class. Then after that, got into counseling for Wyman. My camp name was Skywalker. So I don't know if you guys heard the song Skywalker by Miguel, but that was my theme and my mojo on the campus, trying to encourage the teams to, focus on their dreams and their aspirations and not let anybody else interrupt their journey. So then fast forward again, Jalen kind of re-engaged me into Wyman, and helping out with the team development and the mission and goals there. And then currently I am at VA in Phinia. So I'm currently working at the whole health practice model. So I'm whole management, and of course with the other whole health professionals here at the VA and then at Phinia. So I'm currently at Illinois and in St. Louis at John Barracks and Chakra. And I'm currently at the North Forest location in St. Louis. Yes, I think that's all about me for now, and I'm thankful for this opportunity to share with you guys. Yeah.
Awesome. Chris, we're so glad you're with us too. It's cutting in and out just a little bit, so I want to make sure folks are really clear that sometimes I refer to Chris as Dr. Daly because he will be Dr. Daly come this spring when he becomes licensed as a chiropractor and he's going through Logan. And so you heard him talk about the work with Aphinia and the work with VA and just his vision as a chiropractor to help people live their fullest lives, right?
Yes.
And so we're excited to have Dr. Daly with us as well today. Right. Well, so we're gonna thank you to all of you for those introductions. One piece that Kate dropped in the chat, and we're not going to throw up slides or anything, that's too complicated for today, but one piece that's in there is called Wyman's Framework for Thriving Youth. And that is our way of simply saying, what are we about as an organization? What are we trying to do? And it's really the anchor for all 3 of those proven programs that I talked about earlier. So in our big goals, right? Educational career success, life leadership skills, healthy behaviors, and relationships. How do we do that? We know that relationships are absolutely fundamental to that, whether that's between the young people that we serve and the team members who are serving them, as well as those peer-to-peer relationships. You just heard about these deep connections that Jalen and Chris and Kaya and Barrington, who's on with us, right, have had from that time together, and how those are still lasting today. And then we know that what we do across all of our programs is help young people build skills. We help young people really develop or create opportunities where they can find that positive sense of self, really own their power, who they are, who they wish to be, and really develop connections to others and their communities. And those are the ingredients, no matter which of our programs, those are all in there in some way, shape, and form. So we'll structure a little bit of our conversation around that then today. And Jalen Mathis, if I can start with you, we talk so much about this power of relationships, and that in the foundation of our work. Y'all have already talked about that, and I know that extends to even your peers who are beyond this call. Can you just share more from your perspective about that role and that importance of those relationships and how that has played a role for you over time?
I think that, for me and my experience, just, and that let's start with the transition from middle school to high school, right? So during that time, relationships were super important for me because I was still finding who I was, finding, my own self and my personal legends and discovering that. Obviously, I was super duper young. So I was kind of approaching relationships from a standpoint of, hey, I'm young. I like these certain things like music, basketball, LeBron James. I'm trying to connect with people who are kind of like the same, right? But I always knew that it was a separating factor with me when going into high school. I was a very well-rounded kid. I had a solid GPA. I played tennis, basketball, and soccer in high school. My mom always kept me super duper involved and active. I did do a stint in Boy Scouts, but kind of stepped away from that because I just realized like, hey, I like the more competitive nature of things. And Wyman really has shown itself early on to be a curator of genuine relationships, right? With individuals who are like-minded, who I had yet to discover. And Wyman put me in a position to be surrounded by those individuals who were like-minded and success-driven at a very young age. Like you said, or like Chris and Barrington, also who's on the call, like we came up in the same class. And so, for me being a freshman, going in my sophomore year, I didn't know much of anything about college. I knew that going in, Barrington was like headstrong about going to Morehouse College. I was like, man, like I wish I could be as super, super confident and as like directionally focused as Barrington was early on at a young age, but I hadn't had that yet, right? But within those summers on camp, I remember, going to trek and experiencing hiking for the first time, hiking for 10 miles. Like who would have thought my first hike would be 10 miles, and the relationships have shown themselves within my younger years to even show to today, right? Having gone on a hike with Chris and Barrington, being in the same tent, sweating bullets, right? Being under that leadership of those counselors that we had at the time. It was a guy named Turkey and a guy named Mello. And so I remember and recall being on campus and meeting like cricket, and meeting roll bounce. Right. And when I first met these individuals, they were, dealing with the older class, the upper class LC3s and LC4s, which is your juniors and seniors in high school. So I knew I had some way, like one more summer until I got a chance to really lock in with them. But it was important for me to meet them early on because they got a chance to see who I was at a young age. They knew kind of already had me on their radar. Right. So when things and relationships really became impactful as I got older, right? Wyman supported that transitional phase as I was dealing with it in life, right? Going from sophomore year now to junior year, senior year. These are the serious years that we are dealing with in high school. These aren't just like, oh, I can still play around, I can still go play sports. Like, nah, it's time to figure out and roadmap what's going on and what I'm going to do and what are the next steps. And Wyman was like a super support with that, right? So I really pay homage to Wyman for honestly changing the trajectory of my life and putting me on my purpose track, right? I actually remember vividly where we were at SEMO and we had like a college application day, right? So during our LC 3 or 4 year, I can't remember, but we stayed at SEMO to experience that college life, right? As a high schooler, I'm sitting here in college dorms, like realizing and being able to step into this future reality and seeing it at a younger age, which allowed me to become more comfortable with that transition, right? Having built those relationships with my peers and being in this new environment together is kind of what helped me be able to tackle life's, biggest like jumps, and leaps more easier in a way because I had that support at an early age. And I remember Robout sat me down and I was looking at like Kentucky and stuff, and he was like, nah, he was like, honestly, Jalen, like I know you and who you are. I think that you're HBCU material. He was like, let's look into, a list of schools. We looked at like Winston-Salem, then Morehouse came about, and I wasn't confident in myself when I applied. I'm like, this is a private institution. I'm like, well, I know Barrington's going to get in. I know he's going to be there. But at the time, I wasn't as confident, and Wyman spoke confidence into me, right? By instilling in me the power of self, right? The power of self-awareness, the power of understanding who you are at a very young age and understanding whose you are at a very young age as well, right? Having those two realities and those two foundational things for me had kind of cultivated my relationship building skills as I move forward, right? We did certain like activities with one another. We call them icebreakers, right? And so icebreakers, doing that at Wyman at when I was on camp as an LC1 all the way up until my LC4 or 5 year, that really helped me out actually in life as I was transitioning from high school to college. Icebreakers were literally a thing. Like you actually had to have good conversation starts with individuals who I met in college because I didn't want to get caught in the wrong group of individuals, right? After coming and graduating from Wyman, it's still shown itself to be amazing. Obviously, I had joined the YLC, so that was based off of relationships. I had strong relationships with Tiny Toons. Tiny Toons was one of the supervisors or like the directors for LC4s and LC5s as well. And so building that relationship, that was a sense of trust there. And he was like, Jalen, you were the first person I wanted to call and being a founding member of YLC. Because I feel like, as I've experienced Wyman, he's seen me through every phase. And having that solidified relationship allowed me to step foot into my true purpose, right? And it's being a forefront and being the front runner of leading young people, right? Being the voice of young people, right? Being the gap bridger between, Gen Z and the older generations and helping them understand us better, right? So relationships have meant everything. And even now to this day, boiling down from a personal level, Kaya, Chris, Barrington, like these are individuals who I can say like will be in my wedding in the future, right? When I get married, because of that genuine relationship between Wyman. Kaya and my mom have the same birthday. So, she's been a couple of my birthday parties. Me and Barrington came up in Wyman together, went to Morehouse together. And we're still locked in. Chris as well, right? But I think the special thing about it is that Wyman put me in a position and put me in a place to talk to people who, as I was elevating in my journey, they were also elevating themselves. So our conversations now aren't just about, hey, how's your day going? No, I'm having conversations with Barrington about creating an organizational shift, creating corporate engagement initiatives, creating community initiatives, right? Talking to Chris about, hey, how can we collaborate and create a wellness and health conference in St. Louis to be able to expose underrepresented communities and give them the necessary resources they need? How can Chris step into spaces where we can do yoga and he can go and adjust different athletic organizations and community organizations as well? And so now it has empowered me. These relationships have empowered me to want to continue to be a community leader. So relationships were everything for me, and they still are. I think that obviously, as the niche saying goes, your network is your net worth. And I really pride myself in understanding that, right? I continue to build relationships with key people. I continue to sit down when I get the chance, talk to Jalen Bledsoe, like, hey, bro, what do you think? What's on your mind? Because it's like you see young individuals like-minded who have reached a certain level of success, and you can't do anything but be inspired. Sitting down with talking to Allison, picking her brain. You're the CEO of a super successful nonprofit organization. What are you thinking about? What are you thinking about next steps? How can I support those next steps, right? we sit down and we talk on the phone, and it's really a warm conversation. It isn't just one of those things where, oh, it's like, I got to get this done, I got to do this outside of my super busy schedule. No, this is things that I'm making time for. And it's because of those genuine relationships is the reason why I choose to make time and set time aside and prioritize being a community leader, stepping more into my passion. It actually allowed me to be more consumed in who I am as an individual and make sure that everything that I'm doing is in alignment with my purpose and my passion. So that's how relationships have been impactful for me over the years, thanks to Wyman.
Jalen, there is so much in what you just shared. Thank you so much for kicking us off. And I think y'all, I'm watching things in the chat, and I think y'all can understand why this has been like one of the most joyful things for me in coming into this role is these reconnections. And you know, as Jalen said, it's powerful, right? In terms of continuing to bring alum onto our board. That's been a huge priority for us. This idea of bridging across generations, right, to really move forward with what we are working to accomplish. So, Jalen, thank you for kicking us off in such a powerful way. And so grateful to you, my friend, to have you on board with us. I'm going to kick it over to Chris Daly now, if we can. Chris, you've talked a lot. You've talked a lot with us, and we did a little coffee and conversation a couple of weeks ago, in an in-person one. And you've talked a lot about the kinds of skills that you've identified developing during your time at Wyman, and that you had really profound ways of talking about how you're using those even to this day. Can you just give a little, shine a little light on that, speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, hopefully I'm not breaking up this go around. Like, you guys hear me?
I think we got you now, Chris. Yes.
But if
cool,
it does,
awesome.
Chris, I will suggest you
Well, Jalen, that was definitely well spoken. I don't know if I can come behind anything like that. But Jalen's awesome. Glad to have shoulder to shoulder for sure. The skills across like Wyman, I definitely use to this day. As you guys know, I am currently still in chiropractor school. I graduated in April. And I feel like that was just a huge jump. It takes a lot to do that. Even thinking back, I'm having senioritis right now. I still thinking back, I'm like, I don't know how I did it. But it comes with a lot of self-efficacy. And I feel like I've got that skill from my experience with Wyman. Just for example, we had to, like, in the mornings, we had to sing in front of the whole entire camp. So imagine your first day and you're in front of all these people that you don't know, and you have to sing these songs, these camp songs. And I feel like that was one of the avenues that helped me with my self-efficacy and my confidence, is to be able to go into front of people that and actually express myself and, be able to connect with others, even with our groups that we had and our lunches and our cabins. I feel like that was a time where we were able to really express ourselves. And with that self-efficacy, I'm able to, go into different rooms with patients, and actually be able to connect with them and build a rapport with them and trust to help them out with their care. Because it's a lot going on other than just their pain, that they come, like back pain. They're having stuff going on at home. They're having things going on at their jobs, and I have to be able to navigate that with them to help them find the tools necessary to help them with their health. Another thing that skill that I gained from Wyman is discipline. We had a set schedule every single day, and we had to get up every morning early, and we had breakfast, we had programming, then we had lunch, and then we had siesta. Everybody loves siesta. And then we had programming. Then we had like an open period where you could choose what you wanted to do as far as activity. So whether that be like basketball, be poetry, and acting, archery, any other activities that we had on the campsite. Then we had dinner. So with that set schedule that we had every single day, kind of helped me with my planning and my goals every day. So making sure that I have a set schedule and a routine, and building those habits, those successful habits, to meet my goals. And we did a lot of goal setting too. We had a lot of vision boards. And I was just talking with Jalen the other day about, hey, we need to recreate our vision board. We completed, we graduated from college. So now we're like in corporate world, so now we need to figure out where are our goals, going forward. What impact do we want to make? What direction do we want to go to? Because that's going to help out with all of our actions going forward. What do we decided to do on a day-to-day basis to meet these goals? So I think I've definitely learned that, definitely love that soft skill from Wyman, to have that self-reflection, constantly throughout the day. And I always have like a debrief every single day, like, okay, what could I have done better with this patient encounter? What could I have done better? Talking with this healthcare professional, or what did I do well? Like I did this extremely well. I communicated very well. My treatment was very well, just giving myself a pat on the back for the things that I did, and moving forward from there. And of course, leadership. We learned a lot of leadership in Wyman. I would never forget all the times that we had to work together to complete a goal or a task. One of which was on my brain now is there's characters where there was tree trunks, and we all had to stand on the tree trunk, and we had to like figure out like, okay, birthday was which without talking and get into birthday order. So we had to figure out how to communicate without speaking. So I feel like that learned a lot about like communication and just like learning who people are, what their weaknesses and their strengths are, and knowing your strength and weaknesses, how you can apply it to a team. And right now, like I'm working on the pain management team, so I have to figure out what my role is. How can I help the team out, for us to complete the task at hand and help patients get better. And another thing that I just with the self-efficacy is a leap of faith that we had at the Wyman campsite. So basically, it was this tall tower that you had to stand on. You had to jump off of it and like hit this ball across the jumpway. And so then people at the bottom had to hold you up. So it kind of was a huge meaning behind it, because it was like, okay, you have supporters that's behind you, that's there, that's rooting you on at the ground, telling you, okay, it's okay to jump. We have you because we're holding you up. And then you got the person up top that's like, okay, you can jump on 3. And then the person count down to 3, 2, 1, and the person still down jump. And we call that the leap of faith. So I feel like I have a lot of leap of faith in my life, especially now post graduation. When I'm coming into clinic, making sure that my mindset is correct when I'm coming in front of patients, and having that leap of faith every time I walk into a patient room. Knowing that I got my supporters behind me, my clinician is here. Knowing I have supporters side by side with me. I can call Jalen anytime I can. I can talk to Barrington anytime, Kaya too. Like we all always have conversations and talking, like, and I always have that support system at hand I can fall upon. And I just love the fact that Wyman was able to teach us those soft skills, and also like community service. I feel like that was really huge, and leading with service. After I graduated from the Wyman program, I always led with service. When I was at Truman State University, also I can definitely tag on to what Jalen said before with the college applications. I had a full ride to Truman State University with a 19 ACT score. So I feel like that's huge. I always brag on that all the time. When I went there, I always led with community service. And I feel like Wyman definitely did a good job with teaching us that, because that led to many opportunities, so many opportunities, like leadership opportunities on campus, internships, different events that was on campus that everybody wasn't really privy to because they wasn't involved or hands-on. I even carried that into my experience at Logan, leading with service. I did a lot of work with the Logan staff, with building marketing tools and improving the programs and the services. And of course, now I've been blessed with the opportunity to be at Affinia Healthcare and the VA. And hopefully down the line, I'm just going to continue to lead and take advantage of all the opportunities that they give. And I just learned that from the things that we did at Wyman. We did a lot of gardening. We did a food bank. We cleaned trails. We built trails too. We did hikes. It's just so many things I can go down the line on all the things that we did, and I really appreciate that exposure, that experience, because that was really one of the biggest things that I feel like all teams going forward could definitely benefit from, is just that exposure, because some people just really just don't know what's out there, what they can really get into, and the leader that they can really be. So, yeah.
Chris, can I just say I am so grateful you are going to be a healthcare provider in our community. And I mean, just all the compassion and grace and all that you are bringing to that space. So glad you have reconnected with us, and just cannot wait to see where you continue to take things, my friend. So. Thanks for putting amazing voice and making those connections for us, right? In very, very, very specific skill areas, right? That are part of how we operate as we move forward as human beings and as coworkers and as community members. I'm watching the time. I'm going to turn it over to Kaya next, and want to ask her and Jalen Bledsoe both a question, and then we'll open it up if there are questions from those of you who have joined us. So, Kaya, you actually mentioned that you started with us as a middle schooler when you were doing the teen outreach program, and actually, there's people on this call who I think know one of your mentors. Julie Campschroeder is one of your mentors at Rittner, right? So there's people on this call who are big Julie Campschroeder fans as well. So y'all have a connection that you might not know about yet. But Kaya, can you just talk about, you talked about how important that experience, even in the teen outreach program, was for you as a middle schooler and finding your voice. Can you talk with us about that a little bit?
Yes, and I will try to keep it brief, but make sure I include all the details that are necessary, because at the time of being in middle school, I was a part of Brittany Woods Middle School. I joined in 6th grade, but prior to my 6th grade year, I had lived in like 5 different states, attending like 10 different schools between K through 12. So I've been around in a lot of areas of my life, and I was always a quiet leader, but I was someone that was confident in who I was. I would say that being in the teen outreach program, it allowed me to experience new things outside of just being in a different state or being the new kid all the time. I was a part of the teen outreach program in middle school, and I vividly remember doing activities like creating buttons for upcoming things that we were passionate about within our school. I remember going to senior citizen homes and volunteering there and playing bingo and just being immersed in new experiences that was outside of my comfort zone. I had always been the new kid, but I knew that I was a leader and in my heart and in who I was. My mom is also somebody that definitely pushed me to be the leader that I am today. But I would say that in Wyman, and teen outreach program, that was my middle school years. And I was so excited about what Wyman could continue to be for me, because I didn't want it to just stop in middle school. A lot of my peers, they were part of that middle school group, but not all of them from the U City area extended into the teen leadership program. But I was able to. I vividly remember doing my interview in 2014 and going down to the downtown office to do my interviews. And I like to be as vulnerable as possible whenever I'm speaking with people that may not know me, or whenever I'm doing an interview, just so I can really show up as my best self. And during that process, being in the teen leadership program, like Chris was saying, like Jalen was saying, all the camp activities that we got to do really forced me to kind of come out of my comfort zone and to be a little more vocal about my leadership. And I would definitely say that in middle school and in high school, those experiences have shaped me today, because I'm more adaptable. I'm able to pivot in situations. I vividly remember being on track and doing a 10-mile hike. There were people in our group that didn't exactly want to make it to the end, but we encouraged each other. We were able to push each other to keep going. And those moments allowed us to exemplify our leadership and be vulnerable, but also just use our voice and to help each other. And I value that today, especially considering that I've been in a lot of different leadership programs. One second. Sorry if my volume cut off. I've been in a lot of different leadership programs from middle school to today, and it has helped me develop my voice. So this past year, I was able to be a part of the Aspen Young Leaders Fellowship. And this is an Aspen Institute, from the Aspen Institute, and it's a nationwide program. But it was something that I was able to become a facilitator of after being in the program. And being in a facilitator role, you're on the other side of the tables, right? You have to lead the rest of the youth. You have to be able to be a peer, but also a mentor in the same breath. And at the time, it was something that was challenging. I had curriculum I had to follow, but I also had to shape it to myself and who I am. And the leadership skills that I was able to exemplify in that program started early on from Wyman, started early on with being able to keep my cabin mates on track, being able to hold each other accountable. I remember we had to do our laundry every week. So making sure all of our laundry is together, keeping up with my stuff, making sure everybody has their own stuff too. But I've always been that natural leader. So to be able to actually amplify my voice within different programs, I've been able to really impact a lot of youth's lives. I look back on the different programs that I've been a part of. And I say that because it's been so many, truthfully. I've been part of the Clayco CCDI program, which Julie Camp Schroeder, Mrs. K connected me to when I was in high school. And that afforded me a full ride scholarship to Missouri S&T. So being able to be the leader that I am and showing up and being vulnerable and using the skills that I learned in Wyman, and I can go on and on about those skills. We should definitely connect if you want to know more about my story. But I would say that those have helped me become who I am today and to continue to impact youth lives and wanting to be a part of that process still, even as somebody who recently graduated and is now in the corporate space, in a leadership development program in the corporate space. I'm a part of a rotation program that allows me to rotate between different business units within this Fortune 100 company and learn so many new things and also apply it to my career to figure out where is it that I want to go. But in my brain, I'll also always think about the people that came before me and the people that are coming behind me. And those leadership skills started really early on in my career through Wyman Teen Outreach Program. And I'll definitely pass it to Jalen.
Thanks, Kaya. I just want to say, Kaya, there's so much power in everything that you said. And don't y'all wish that like Kaya was your team member as well in leading in your organization? But that whole, this whole, the way we updated our mission statement to talk about connecting teens to their voices, their strengths, and their futures. Again, we put those opportunities out there. And I think, Kaya, as you told your story, that's just such an amazing, testimony to stepping right into that. And can't wait to see all the things that you continue to do. I have a feeling Kaya is also really humble about all the things that she has done. So everything that she has said, there is so much more depth behind that as well. So thank you, my friend. Well, we're going to pivot then to Jalen Bledsoe. So Jalen, Wyman's 126-year history now. You are our first alum to be chair of our board. We've had alum on our board for some time and over the years, but you are the first to be in that particular seat. And that certainly gives you, from your time in program to your time now, right? Watching from a governance role gives you a really unique perspective. Can you share a little bit for us about that journey and insights that you're carrying forward as you lead the organization in this way?
Absolutely. First of all, I feel bad coming after all these educated young people because I'm like, hey, I'm the college dropout here. But no, it's great to just follow this impeccable group of Wyman alum and just who are setting a phenomenal path forward and modeling what it looks like to be an alum of our programs, which I think is super important. I look forward to seeing how we further amplify the stories of each of you as you create these impeccable pathways. I sit in two worlds in my life. I literally carry a MacBook and a Windows PC wherever I go. I am the model of a type A B personality. I think Excel document and I also think Photoshop. That's just how I approach life at this point. And when I first think about just the journey, especially in this seat as the board chair, I've come to think about I'm learning our most impactful programs cost the most amount of money to operate. That's a learning I'm picking up in this seat. And yes, they're expensive, but that does not negate the fact that they have the most impact and they create the life of what we show in this call, a Jalen, a Kaya, and a Chris. So that's my first observation. And with that, what I'm learning, and I go back into that marketing communications hat, I think about the difficulty in explaining what Wyman does to an audience of people who may already have the skills or who were easily introduced to those skills compared to the audience that we serve at Wyman, right? Whether it's goal setting or decision making or just these social emotional things. Like, how do you tell someone what it means to be socially, emotionally, and that's a concept that it's hard to explain. And so I'm learning again that part of the brain of it's expensive. The other part of the brain it speaks to it's hard to communicate what we do. And what I'm learning, it's two outcomes of that. One, the importance of a board and stakeholders like who join this call today, who can help us amplify the story, with the right comms team to give us messaging on what we're doing, and the alum who can amplify their story, but also this discovery and funders who can help make what we do possible. Because it really takes a lot to clarify the message, amplify the message, and amplify that message. It's a journey that we have to be mindful of. So that's back in mind at all times. And then just this last part is the impact of the pandemic on young people is not fully understood. This is a major learning that I have in this seat. And I think Wyman is in a unique space to have the amount of exposure to young people directly, but also across the 30,000 young people impacted by, national network partners, to see how they're responding, to see what their needs are, and ultimately to create programming to help solve those needs. And so I think all these things all day: left brain finance, right brain messaging, left brain the board, right brain, the ability to take all this data in and create scale programs to help impact young people across the world in the way that we're seeing come up. I'll land with this, and it's funny as I think about, as being a Gen Z, I also don't understand Gen Z. So for all those on the call who are like, this Gen Z workforce is chaotic, I understand. I have 400 people on staff, 200 of them are Gen Z, and I still don't know what's going on. And so I'm excited about just what Wyman's role is and being able to understand the young people's needs and to create programs and to help, prepare our workforce through our programs in high school and middle school at this time. And so what am I taking on this journey with me? All those pieces, 4 points like a pastor, but it's a continual journey of evolution and what my understanding of needs are and how we can support that mission and what that looks like over time.
Jalen, thank you so much for those reflections. And y'all can see it. It has been an amazing start of my leadership journey at Wyman as CEO to be in partnership with this amazing human being. So we talk on a weekly basis, sometimes multiple times, and just that vision, where we're going, those questions, that left brain, right brain, it has just been tremendous. So thank you for all the alls, Jalen. Well, we have a few more minutes, and I know I see some awesome pieces coming up in the chat, but I want to open it up to those of you who've joined us today. Is there anything you want to ask these wonderful and amazing human beings about? Go ahead and come off mute or pop it in the chat. Bruce, thank you for being on with us. We appreciate you being here and for listening a second time. So. Well, let me do this. I'm going to give each of our folks, each of our alum, a minute to share what is giving you hope for young people and or a call to action you have for the other folks who are on this call with us today. You led us through your stories, and so we want to give you kind of our final word here. What is giving you hope, or what is a call to action that you have? Jalen Mathis, do you want to kick us off again?
Yeah, sure. So what's giving me hope is knowing that the younger generations are still very much inspired to be something amazing in life. Crazy timing. I know I got a minute. Crazy timing. Last night, Road Bounce called me, and he had a young brother who was going. He attends Confluence Academy. He's ranked number 2 out of his class, and he's looking to go to Morehouse. And just to get that phone call, those late at night, to get that phone call, and for Road Bounce to just kind of be like, hey, like, I really want you to speak more life into him and figure out how we can get him into Morehouse. It fills my heart to know that, the generations that are coming after me are continuing to build, continue to remain inspired, coming from the environments of which I come from. My call to action for those people on the call is find, let's say, 1 to 2 young people that you can connect with next week to just talk to them about what inspires them. Really just have a moment for them to kind of go into, what their aspirations are, and to connect with them further, and figure out how your resources can help them, become who they want to be in life. So that's my call to action.
Thanks, Jalen. And you opened us with relationships, and you closed us with a great example of those continued relationships. So,
For sure.
How about soon to be Dr. Daly? What do you have for us, my friend?
My call to action would be continuing to support team development. The teams need us. Right now is a even more of a need time. Post COVID. So getting them involved, getting them engaged into their school activities, after school activities, and getting exposure to things that they never seen before. So yeah, that might still be my call to action is to continue to support team development. Yeah, and seeing our teams develop and actually apply to our world and our communities.
Thanks, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Kaya, what's on your mind?
The first thing that I kind of think of is how it starts at home. My mother was the person that was able to instill a lot of my leadership skills. Wyman was able to add on to it and help me develop. I would say, similar to Jalen's call of action, get with a young person. And I would say start in your family, somebody that you may think has a bright future, and even if they don't, to pick their brain and figure out what is it that they want to do with their lives. And if they don't have an idea, maybe plant some seeds here and there. So I would definitely say start there. And then my hope is knowing that my younger sister, who's 8 years younger than me, and the people that are her peers are excited about the future. They're thinking about what they want to do with their lives. They're seeing things on social media that inspire them to want to do more. So that's what kind of gives me hope. And then knowing that I can forever be connected to their lives and impact their lives.
Thank you, Kaya. I bet you're an amazing big sister. So, Jalen Bledsoe, you want to wrap us up here?
Absolutely. I think, as I think about what's giving me hope or encouragement is the fact that how many people join this call at 8:30 in the morning with cameras on. That says a lot about the community that's supportive of what Wyman is doing and is invested and interested about the future and the needs of young people. That gives me a lot of hope and encouragement. I would say my call to action is, I mentioned it in my, insights on this journey. I think one is asking each of your support and helping us better tell and amplify the story of what Wyman does and the impact that we have on young people, and help us in that discovery of funders who can help make this work continue and grow and scale. We're on a mission just in our TCP, Teen Connection Project, to reach 100,000 people over the next few years. And so your help by attending this call, but helping to be amplifiers out of this call would be more than anything to help us accomplish that goal.
Amen. Thank you, Jalen. So many great pieces in the chat. I love that Trent does a lot of really important work for MOCAN, Missouri College and Career Attainment Network. Cynthia's on the board as well. And Trent is already tapping into Chris to work with MOCAN's Student Leadership Group. Don, I hear, I see your reflections, having spent 4 decades on our board, right? And seeing this really mission come full circle, and what this means when you hear young people influencing in their businesses and their communities with one another. I've got to shout out earlier on David Young. So David's dad, Isaac, who has passed, but was on our board for many, many years. You see Don nodding his head. Don and Dave would both have known Isaac. And he was an amazing supporter. And David, you just talk about how proud your dad would be, right? To listen to and to hear all of these pieces. And there's so much more in the chat. We promised y'all that if you joined us this morning, that it would be like the best start to your Wednesday morning. And I think that has been true. And I hope each of you carry this with you as you move forward. I know the world right now, I love that we ended on a space of hope and the possibility for the future. The world is a tough place right now. And we just can't give up. That's just not in our DNA at Wyman. So I appreciate Jalen, Chris, Kaya, and Jalen, how you are, how you kind of marched us into the future. We will be sending you all as a follow-up. We'll send you the recording. We'll send a little bit of a follow-up too on what Jalen talked about with Teen Connection Project, in case you haven't heard about that, why that's so important to us as we're moving forward. And we would love for you, if you were moved by this, share this with other people, invite them to listen, invite them to be part of the Wyman journey with us. And we just, Jalen Mathis, we can't wait for you to join our board. and Chris and Kaya, and Barrington, because you're on with us. We're so grateful for all of the future involvement that we'll continue to have with our alum as we move forward. This is what the work is all about. So thank you all for being with us this morning. Hope you have a great day and hope this heads you into the second half of your week in a really positive space. So